Pregame.com.
Jacksonville plus 11 at Atlanta, Thursday night NFL. Marco, I got to tell you, this game has a number of very unique handicapping scenarios that I want to pick your brain on. Now, one that we've always talked about ever since, this whole year and last year is the Thursday night factor. So to go over that real quickly, less preparation time, huge advantage for the home team, about 59% over 100 games of Thursday home teams covering. So I always look home or pass, typically in this spot. That's a standard Thursday we've talked about. But this week, we've got two different situations that make it unique. One is Atlanta's coach had chest pains after their game last Sunday and actually was in a hospital for about 24 hours based upon the local press. Now, how do you handicap that factor on a short week?
Well, obviously it's a huge disruption for Atlanta, but they've got assistant coaches that they know what they're going to want to do. He can convey to them.
Whoa. They got assistant coaches that know what they want to do. Under that theory, then, what's the head coach do?
What I'm going to say is he's going to relay what he wanted to have them do, and they would execute it.
Okay, so if that was the case, he should maybe stay on the beach every week and just have a quick conference call in the morning and tell them what to do.
That would be nice, but clearly there's no question that is a huge disadvantage for Atlanta with the disruption this week. Going to just the first part of your thing about the Thursday night and the road team, flip back to last week, one thing that we talked about is we had a game where that was one of the unique times that it is not a big a disadvantage for the road team with Cleveland against Pittsburgh because of it being a division game, close in proximity. This week, it's not a division game. It is close in proximity. Jacksonville to Atlanta is a short trip, but you got two teams that don't see
not only not a division game, but they only play each other once every 4 years, and now it segues into this. Is it every 3 years or every 4 years? I think it's every 4 years because there's 4 divisions. Okay. It segues into the next point, which is Jacksonville is in week 2 of a new coach.
Right.
All right. And I think there's 2 angles there, and one I kind of missed until you were talking about it, which was the concept that not only aren't you familiar with this team in general, you've only got 1 week of film with the new coach.
Absolutely.
How do you consider that?
Well, given what you just said about with the coaching staff, with the coach being sick at the beginning of the week, that's going to create a little more of a wrinkle for them because now they don't know what to expect. They can't really just go to traditional Jacksonville game film because the new coach can do some new things that they're not familiar with. So that creates a little bit of a problem.
But now there's a flip side, is with the new coach, you'd want more time. I mean, ideally, you usually do big changes intra-season before bye, and the theory is you got 2 weeks to get ready. Now you're playing 2 games in 10 or 11 days. Or actually 2 games in 5 days, but with the preparation time before the first game, 10 or 11 days. That seems like a disadvantage. It's almost like negative on each side of the columns here. That seems like a disadvantage for Jacksonville.
And it is, and if you throw another wrinkle into it, the week before, they played on Monday. So they played Monday to Sunday to Thursday. They've had the 3-week gamut of the short, the worst scenario that you can have.
Okay, and the firing happened after the Monday game.
Yes.
Well, boy,
I'm sorry. The firing happened before the Monday game. They played the Monday night game with the new coach. That was that was part of the angle. A lot of people, when we talked about like on the podcast that week, when they played San Diego, would the team get up for the new coach and everything else? But that was his debut.
Okay, so
this would actually be his third game.
So this is his third game. Okay, that's where my mistake was, and I apologize. Thanks for the correction on that. All right, but I think the points are being made. You got unique or uncommon scheduling situations with the new coach.
Right.
Okay, so if this game were on Sunday, nothing that we had talked about would be pertinent. So we've kind of spent a nice chunk at the beginning of this video talking about the Thursday factor. Is there anything else about that specifically that you'd like to add?
No.
All right, so let's continue on with the coach himself being so new in this case, as you've pointed out, the third game. How do you handicap that in general? Because I look at the fact that they ended up looking really good last week. Is that a situation where is he doing maybe something fundamentally different? Number two, maybe the level of discontent with Del Rio was so high, you never quite know what's going on behind the locker room door. But when you see a team come out, we saw this with Arizona in college football,
right.
is Stoops was there, very stressful kind of coaching style. He's gone. Next week they play their best game of the year. Del Rio, intense coach. Next week or 2 weeks later they play their best games of the year. How do you look at that?
Well, Del Rio, I mean, if you go back and think to the beginning of the season, a lot of people were very unhappy with Del Rio, and I'm talking veterans on that team when they got rid of Gerard at the beginning of the year, especially the way they did it and at the the 11th hour, so to speak.
So in hindsight, Gerard's back is so hurt he hasn't even been able to play.
Right, but still there was some discontent with the team, the veterans on that team with that decision at the beginning. The Monday night game, one of the things that I think, you said they looked very good last week. An angle that I always like to use is teams coming off a Monday night game that looked horrible. They're a great play.
But they're a great play because there's value. The theory is that they're getting 4, but they should really be getting 3. That's the whole point of that play. Not that you expect them to do so well, but you expect them to do relatively well compared to how poorly they looked.
You're right on the value part, but the other part that makes the value even better is you're getting more points with a team that you should get a better effort from because they were embarrassed. Teams don't like to be embarrassed in prime time.
But
and when they're at home the second week in a row, that's a bigger factor because they were embarrassed on national TV at home, and then they played at home again last week.
Fair enough. And maybe you thought the line in the game should have been, so let me refresh my memory. It ended up being, Tampa Bay was -2 in that game? Okay, so maybe you think, what's the biggest line variance there's ever going to be? Let's call it 4 points. I mean, an NFL line rarely, if ever, going to be all 4 points. So you're saying that Jacksonville was +2, and maybe they should have been -2. And going through 0 isn't exactly the same math, but forget that for a second. They ended up blowing them out. So whatever little niche worth 1 point, worth 2 points, they far exceeded that.
They did. And to go deeper into that game, which is a handicapper, I can't just look at the final score. You got to go inside the box score. They benefited from 7 turnovers in that game. Tampa Bay turned it over 7 times in that game. And believe it or not, Tampa Bay had a 14-0 lead.
Now that brings up an interesting point because oftentimes you want to fade teams that do well off of turnovers. When you go into the box score, did Jacksonville play exceptionally well in your mind?
I think they played good, but I think Tampa Bay, and that's one of the parts that I'm going to talk about, the team they played, Tampa Bay, this is a team that I think the coach has lost the team. This is another coach that's rumors are swirling that he may be a lame duck coach. And when you get into the end of the season...
So which makes you look at this Jacksonville win as less impressive?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready to give my projection. Any closing thoughts?
The only thing I'll say is one thing about the Atlanta Falcons, this is a team that's in a playoff hunt. So this is a big game for them. You are going to get them totally focused. Jacksonville, if this wasn't a TV game, this would be an absolute mail-in game, you would think, for them, because playing a non-conference team, on the road, off of a big win when they're going nowhere, it's a flat spot. But because it's on TV, and the last time they were on TV, that could get them to, carry the momentum for another game. But the Falcons are 6-2 the last 8 games. And they're a team that's kind of been like flying under the radar. Just when you think they're good, they throw in a loss. But those 2 losses were to New Orleans and Houston, 2 teams that will be in the playoffs.
Interesting. Okay, here's the stat that's going to kind of swing things for me. One is we talked about the home on Thursday. But 2 is Falcons do particularly well against poor teams. If you look at them against teams with a losing record, they've covered 20 of 28. And that's actually a team that's not really physical. This is a concept that happens a lot in college, is you'll get a team that's a high-flying, high-powered team. Oregon's a good example maybe, though they've gotten to be even better. But Oregon, let's say a year or 2 ago, is the kind of team if they outman someone, they blow them out. If they play someone that's physically better than them, they end up getting beat. But the extremeness of how well they do when they outman someone is more extreme than a superior team to them. Wisconsin, let's just say for the sake of argument, Wisconsin is better than Oregon, though that's not the case if you look at the line and stuff. Is Wisconsin against a average team might end up winning 28-7. and Oregon might end up winning 48-7, but then Wisconsin beats Oregon. And I think Atlanta's sort of like that, is that if they outman you, they can throw and they can run it up. And if they're not outman, like you said, they have trouble against the better teams. In this case, they clearly are the better team against Jacksonville. I'm going to project 28-13, so Atlanta is the pick, and a big chunk of that is the whole Thursday factor. Okay, guys. Now, hey, by the way, for Thursday, we got the dollar pick. Do you know who the dollar is?
I don't know who it is yet. Johnny forgot to
It'll be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise.
So here's the thing. Every Thursday is we take the very hottest handicapper at pregame.com and give his biggest pick away for, well, we don't give it away, but almost, for $1. It's our $1 best bet Thursday. And usually on this video, we'll know who it is. Surprise. Check it out. Go to pregame.com and click buy picks, and you'll see it prominently on Thursday. And otherwise, don't forget, all of our videos go into a super thread in the forums each week, all of them in one super thread. And you can go there directly at pregamevideos.com. And what we do is all the participants on these videos will talk about, we'll put their show notes up, and we'll answer any questions you have about the video. Talk to you there.